In this video, I will show you how to complete the full Excel file for the McDonald's drive-thru data. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight all the data. Right-click and then copy. I'm going to come over to Excel and somewhere over here I'm going to right-click and then under Paste Options, if I do this option, it'll give me the Google formatting. This option will give me the Excel formatting. Let me center the data. And now I'm going to do decimal minutes. Double click right here to extend it. And then over here I'm going to do total seconds. To get decimal minutes, it's similar to getting decimal heights. I'm going to have this be equal to the total number of minutes plus the number of seconds divided by 60 to turn this seconds into decimal minutes. I'm gonna now, once I have decimal minutes, total seconds will be equal to decimal minutes times 60. I'm gonna highlight these two cells and I'm gonna copy the logic down for all of them. Center them. Maybe over here I'm gonna right click to format the cells to make the number to 2 decimal places. And we're doing pretty well. I'm gonna highlight right here to create a title. I'm going to highlight these 4 cells and hit merge and center. And then over here I'll do McDonald's drive-thru time. And I'm going to make that bold, a little bit bigger than the rest of the text. And I'm going to now highlight all of this to make it nicer borders. So I'm going to go over here to borders. I'm going to do all borders. Maybe give it a nice thick border, maybe give it a few thick borders inside, and that looks good to me. Now over here I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start doing, I'll do it over here. I'm going to merge these cells and I'm going to say this is equal to my sum, and I'm going to do all my summary stats over here. So I'm going to give me a few merged cells to work with. What was it? Max, min. And then after min, it was range, mean, median, mode, and then standard deviation was the last one. Okay. So for the sum, I'm going to say this is equal to sum of all of the above cells. Max is equal to the max of the above cells. Min is equal to min. Double click, highlight, enter. Range is going to be equal to the maximum minus the minimum. The mean, you have to type in average. Enter. Median is equal to median. Mode is equal to mode, and we'll do singular for this class. And then standard deviation is STDEV, and we're going to do P for population. And I'm going to highlight these cells, and I'm going to copy the logic over one more column, because this is getting it for my decimal minutes. If I copy the logic to the right, I'll get it for the total seconds. So I'm going to go ahead and now center those. Maybe I'll say format the cells and give me to 2 decimal places. Then I'm going to go ahead and give it a few more borders. Maybe I'll make this bold and a thicker border as well. Okay, so now we're done with the summary statistics. We're going to now create our histogram. So we're going to go to Data and Data Analysis. And we're going to go to Histogram and hit OK. So for input range, I told you to do seconds, so let's highlight those cells. For bin range, we have to create a bin range. So we're actually not ready to do our histogram yet. So let's close out of here, and now we're going to create our bin. So I'm going to go over here and type in bin. And our bin is essentially, we need to specify the x-axis of our histogram. We need to tell it what the minimum is and what the maximum is, and then the thickness of each of the bars, like the range for each of the bars. So you have to look at your data and look at your minimum and your maximum. And you need to choose a bin starting point that is lower than the min and a little bit higher than the maximum. And you can choose the intervals. So if I started at, say, 40, and I counted by fives, well, can you imagine that that's a lot of little columns that I'd have? 5, 10, 15, 20, all the way to 190? That's a little bit too many. Even a range of 10 would be a lot. I'm going to actually say let's do 25. And that's not the right answer, that's just a correct way of doing it. So if I do 25, the best number to start with, I would say, is 25. And then we're going to count by 25s all the way up to 200. So we're going to go 25, 50, and once I have two of them, I can highlight them and copy the logic down all the way to 200. Center it, add some nice borders, so I do all borders first and then a thick border. Now we're ready to do the histogram. So we're going to go to Data, Data Analysis, Histogram, and now for input range, we are ready to highlight the seconds. For bin range, we can now select our bin data. For output range, make sure you select over here and choose a cell a little bit to the right from everything else, and then make sure that chart output is turned on. Hit OK. Okay. So here's your histogram. Move it over a little bit. You can make it a little bit bigger if you wanted. And now we are saying that we have one data between 25 and 50, 3 data points between 51 and 75, 2 data points between 76 and 100, and so on. And there are no data points beyond 200 over here. So I'm going to delete this because I don't really need it. And watch what that does to over here. Makes it a little bit cleaner. And I'm also going to delete that frequency. So click delete. Okay, you can even make it a little bit bigger if you want. And I'm going to clean this up a little bit. I'm going to change the name of the chart title, double click in here, and let's call this McDonald's drive-thru. Let's call this time in seconds. And then I'm going to also add a horizontal grid line. So I'm going to click the histogram, go to Design, Add Chart Element, Grid Line, Primary Major. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the thickness of this by selecting the bar, double-clicking, and then making the gap width 5%. And now we are done.